Let's talk about how to use WeChat Pay to pay for things in China as a tourist. In this video, I'll walk through step by step the basics, including how to set up WeChat Pay, how to link a card, how to pay in stores, and whether you should get WeChat Pay or Alipay. We'll also cover a recent update that makes it possible to link Apple Pay to WeChat Pay, a total game changer for travelers who struggle to add their home country's credit cards or debit cards to WeChat Pay in the past. And finally, make sure to stick around until the end to learn a great tip and the exact phrase in Chinese that you can use during your trip to avoid paying those extra fees. First off, let's talk about why you even need WeChat Pay. Can't you just use your credit cards or cash in China? And the answer would be kind of, but not really. China, especially the metropolitan areas, are largely cashless at this point. And while cash is still accepted, it's not that common, and the vendor may not have change for you if you hand over a 100 RMB note for something that's 8 RMB. The only exception is if you're headed somewhere that's more rural, in which case definitely make sure you bring along enough cash. Even physical credit cards are generally not accepted because NFC adoption is low and card readers are just not common. Instead, the go-to payment method for nearly everything, from roadside trinkets to meals to shopping, is mobile payment via Alipay or WeChat Pay. So how this will work is you'll have to link your card on one of these apps and then use the app to pay in China. The app basically acts as a middleman to facilitate your transactions. For those who've never heard of WeChat, WeChat is China's most widely used messaging and lifestyle app. Imagine if WhatsApp, Facebook, Uber, Apple Pay, and more were all rolled into one super app. That's WeChat. And within that super app is a mobile wallet called WeChat Pay. Now, before we dive into the setup, please take a second to tap the like button and consider subscribing if you want more quality travel tips for China and beyond. Your support means a lot, especially for this new channel. Now, with that said, let's get WeChat Pay set up. So you'll start by downloading the international version of WeChat from your App Store or Google Play. Once the app is ready, we're going to launch it to start the sign up process. After we get past the loading screen with the globe, you'll see this page. And at the bottom, you'll see more options, sign up, and then enter your information here. Make sure you enter a phone number that can receive text messages. Accept the terms of service at the bottom, and then accept and continue. It'll then run you through a bunch of additional policies and verifications. This first one is a privacy policy and is rather long, so just scroll all the way down, tap the circle on the left to accept, and then hit next. Next, we have a security verification to prove you're not a bot, pretty standard. Then you'll need to verify your phone number by entering in the code that it'll send to you via text. And then you'll need to accept this consent page. Then you'll enter your birth date. We're almost there, just a few steps more. Accept these terms of service and this privacy policy. At this point, you might be done, but for some, depending on things like which country you're signing up from, your phone number, and other factors, you might be asked to complete an additional verification step, which looks like this. This is probably the trickiest step in the sign-up process, honestly, and basically WeChat will require someone to scan your QR code and vouch for you, which makes signing up a bit difficult if you don't know someone using the app. The reason is because of scam prevention measures, but unfortunately, it does make things a bit more difficult, even for those who have legitimate reasons as well. Something to note is that this will not apply to everyone, and many have reported successfully signing up without having to do this step. So it really depends, but if you do run into this, you will either have to do some legwork, either by finding someone in your local community who can help you verify, or finding some company that offers help with this. Now, you'll know that you've successfully created an account if you're led to this main chat screen and see the welcome message at the top. Our next step is to quickly reset the language on the app. So while the app is largely in English by default, some parts will still appear in Chinese and may be confusing. So what you do is you'll tap on Me on the bottom right, tap on Settings, then General, Language, select a different language. I'll do that by tapping Spanish, and then Done at the top right. Now let's go back to the same screen by tapping Idioma, choosing English, and then tapping Listo at the top to confirm. So once that's done, this will ensure that everything now appears in English. You can of course choose any other language that you want. The next step is to verify your identity so that your transactions don't get declined later. To do that, you'll tap on where it says Me, then Pay and Services, then Wallet, ID info on the bottom, and then you'll be asked to verify identity, where you'll choose the ID type. For most travelers, you'll choose passport, and then you can enter your information. Now, once your identity is verified, you're now ready to link a bank card. You can start by tapping on where it says Me again on the bottom right, go to Pay and Services, and then select Wallet. From there, tap Bank Cards, add a bank card, and enter your card details. WeChat Pay supports most major international cards, including Visa, MasterCard, UnionPay, Amex, Discover, and JCB. Ideally, pick a card that doesn't have foreign transaction fees. I've linked a couple of travel-friendly options in the description if needed. And then you'll also be prompted to create a 6-digit payment PIN, which you'll need when paying. Once your card is linked, you're now all set to start using WeChat Pay. WeChat also offers something called Tour Pass, which basically lets you preload a digital card with RMB. But I don't really recommend it if you are able to link a regular card, since Tour Pass charges you 5% for each top up, which is quite expensive. Now let's talk about how to use WeChat Pay in stores. When you're ready to pay, tap on where it says Me, then Pay and Services, then Money. You'll then see a QR code in the payment section at the top. Just show this to the cashier, and they'll scan it to complete your transactions. If you need to initiate the payment instead, tap the plus icon, choose Scan, point your camera at the store's QR code, and then enter the amount that you owe. Another way you can use WeChat Pay quickly is by holding down on the app icon until this menu appears. The second Scan option is for when you initiate payment. And then the third Money option is the payment code for the vendor to scan. This should be a quick and seamless process, but if you run into any connection issues while doing this, you might want to turn off your VPN. Now let's talk about fees. WeChat Pay is completely free for transactions up to 200 RMB, which is about 27 US dollars. For anything over that though, you'll be charged a 3% fee, which is pretty standard for mobile payment apps. It's not outrageous, but if you are looking to avoid the fee, here's a simple workaround. If your purchase is just slightly over 200 RMB, say 358, you can ask the vendor to split it into 2 payments, one for 200 and one for 158. This keeps each transaction under the limit and avoids the 3% fee. And if you don't speak Chinese, don't worry, I got you. You can show this message to them on your phone. This means, can you split this into multiple payments, each under 200? I'm visiting from abroad and there's a fee for anything over 200. Every vendor I asked was happy to help with this. Just keep it reasonable. I wouldn't recommend splitting into more than 2 or 3 payments as it can be a little bit inconvenient. But that said, 200 RMB goes pretty far for daily spending in China, so this shouldn't come up all that often. Now the big question. WeChat Pay versus Alipay, which should you use? Honestly, both are reliable, widely accepted across China, and charge the same 3% fee on foreign cards after you spend over 200 RMB. They also now both support a wide range of international credit cards, so in most cases, they're pretty evenly matched. On one hand though, Alipay is generally easier to set up, especially if you hit a wall with WeChat's friend verification step. But on the other hand, WeChat is just a must-have app when you visit China in general. So I really recommend you set up both. It's always smart to have a backup in case one gets declined or glitches. And even with both, I would still keep some cash on hand as a backup and recommend you to test them out with a small purchase as soon as you land in China, just to make sure everything works smoothly. That way, if your bank flags a transaction as suspicious, you can catch it early and have time to sort it out. One place though that WeChat currently does have an edge on is with their recent Apple Pay integration. WeChat Pay now supports Apple Pay, an absolute game changer that makes the payment setup process faster, easier, and more rewarding for international users. To set it up, just follow these quick steps. In WeChat, go to where it says Me, then Pay and Services, and then tap the wallet icon on the upper right, and tap Payment Settings, and then choose Other Payment Methods. And then you can toggle Apple Pay on. Now, once activated, Apple Pay will appear as a payment option when you pay using WeChat Pay. This is major in so many ways. For one, I've recently learned from one of my viewers that a lot of individuals are unable to link any of their home country's cards to WeChat Pay. This Apple Pay option is a potential workaround that can open up a world of convenience for these travelers, given that Apple Pay is supported in over 80 countries worldwide. And even for those who are able to link their country's credit card, this means that you can now skip manually adding card details and just use any of the cards that's already saved in your Apple Wallet. And as a bonus, you'll be able to earn some extra cash back on some cards when you pay through Apple Pay. Now, here are a few things for you to keep in mind to avoid running into problems. First, this Apple Pay feature only shows up on the international version of WeChat, which is the version we mentioned earlier, so make sure you get that one. Second, you won't be able to use it for red packets, transfers, balance top-ups, or withdrawals. Third, the 3% over 200 RMB fee still applies, regardless of how you pay. And lastly, users have reported that Visa and MasterCard are supported, but that it currently doesn't work with Amex, UnionPay, or bank cards issued in mainland China. Overall, this feature is a huge win for international travelers, and I'm so excited to try it out for myself the next time I'm there. You're now all set to use WeChat Pay in China. Let me know what you think of this update and if you want to hear more about the features within the WeChat Super App. I'll see you in the next one.